Good afternoon, guys. So, I am today on here to talk to you about why Donald Trump won the election. So, we've seen so much hype about this election. It's really been really volatile the past, I'd say, year. It's got more and more heated as it's gone on, and it's absolutely been really grasping to watch. If you're somebody that watches the news, if you ask my boyfriend, I don't have a clue most of the time what's going on in the news. I don't watch it, but I do love to know more about how people are, persuasion. I mean, I studied doing my NLP practitioner, so and I also did courses on subconscious influence. So to know and it's fascinating to listen to political speeches because you can learn and you can pick out so many things. Now, whether you love Donald Trump, whether you hate Donald Trump, I mean, personally, just doesn't really make much of a difference. But you have to be able to take something from it, and he has just been phenomenal in terms of persuading people. He's been incredible and so powerful with the use of his language. He's used a lot of hypnotic terms. He's used a lot of persuasion. But one of the key things that Donald Trump's done throughout the whole of the campaign is just been certain. Now, this is an analysis that Tony Robbins used, actually. And he was talking about how... bear with me 2 seconds. I just need to get this all up on the computer as well. But Tony Robbins was explaining about some of the reasons that Donald Trump's done so well in his... I'm so distracted. Sorry. He did so well in his campaign. A lot of it was down to the fact that he was so certain about what he did, regardless of whether he said he was going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know some of the things that he said, but he was so clear and so certain about that in a world that's so uncertain, in an economy that's so uncertain, in a political environment that's so uncertain, in business that's so uncertain, in life in general, everything is so uncertain. You just never know what is going to happen next. But he was certain throughout the whole thing. He remained consistent. He remained certain. I'd say only after the campaign, after he won, things backtracked a little bit, which is fantastic, and I'm really glad that happened. But throughout the whole campaign, he was remaining had so much clarity on where he was going and what he wanted to do, and that brought people to him. That drew people to him because people love a leader. People want to be led. We're just like sheep. We're like innate programmed to be sheep. People love to follow. And that's why people did it. That's why people loved Donald Trump. That was one of the biggest reasons that he got so many followers throughout that whole campaign. There was a lot of other things that happened as well, which I will touch on, but I'd say that was one of the biggest reasons that he did incredibly well throughout the whole of the election. There was a few other things. His persuasion was incredible. That his use of language, and I'll touch on his use of language a little bit later because I've got out loads of notes again. Because this is actually training I'd already done for a corporate team for sales and persuasion. So, and I did this a little bit earlier on, but it's really incredible to see how he's using hypnotic language. I mean, a lot of this will be down to the speech writers, and that's the people that they use. This all really started with Obama in 2008. He hired an incredible speech writer that was an expert in hypnotic language, and that is what he used throughout the entire thing. And it's a fact, it is hypnotic language that's been used throughout the whole of the campaign, and it's really made a huge difference to obviously the outcome and the result, because he won eventually. So another thing that Donald Trump did throughout the whole of the campaign, despite the fact that Hillary was great with her facts, she had great facts, she was very typical in terms of her debate. It was very much just like how you'd expect a debate to be. Hillary stuck to traditional political sort of way of debating, way of campaigning. Donald Trump took a very, very different stand this time to how things would usually be. So he referred to Hillary as Secretary Clinton. So straight away, by putting her in a position of Secretary Clinton, it makes her, oh, I've got no battery, I don't know how that happened. It makes him automatically presidential. He's already talking and acting like he is a president. And that's made a huge difference in the campaign, because subconsciously he's made himself into a level and become so aware of the fact that he is presidential, and he's got that, and it's almost like he believes it, and he's putting it into I'm going to call her Secretary Clinton, Hillary Clinton's mind then, that she's secretary and she's secondary to that. And that's so clever. He referred to the whole campaign as Secretary Clinton. So, and all she did was go, he's a racist, he's sexist, he's this, he's that, he's the other. So again, she's making herself an underdog, and she fell straight into that trap throughout the whole game. So that again is how Donald Trump did very, very well in terms of his demeanour, and that's a lot of it, how it's come down to. He was typical throughout the whole of that election campaign. He was so typical as a leader, and that was incredible in terms of making him genuinely believe in his mind that he was the president, and he was so unwavered by anything that happened throughout the fact that he had no backup from the media. It was all very, very Hillary in the media. He did so well throughout that whole thing, and he actually said as well that he held back on a lot of things that he said for Hillary. He could have said a lot more about Hillary. He could have said a lot more personal things about the Clintons, and he even said afterwards, I could have said all these things, but I didn't. And again, saying things like that is putting it into the subconscious mind to make people think that he's this really great guy that's not done anything. Again, all these things throughout the whole of the campaign, he's done it. So, another really interesting thing as well, I think you probably know that the presidential debates were a huge part of the election. The first one, if you look at and analyse how he was in the first one, he was terrible. He didn't do very well, and the polls said that Hillary was going to do better. So you could see in the first one there that he was like not doing too well. And then the second one, the second, because there was 3 debates in total, the second debate that he did, he was very much then, oh, I have a little dog crying. The second one that he did then was, I didn't get him, he got better. He got a little bit better. And the third one, I'd say he was almost equal to Hillary in terms of getting her, like in her level of argument. So that was really, really great for that. And what that shows as well is him developing and keep developing, and that's showing people that you can keep developing and grow. And as you grow further, it gives people that sort of hope that they think, oh, well, he can keep developing and become something greater, so I can. So that's a very, very clever technique that he used, because Donald Trump knows what he's doing. He's a businessman, and he knew that that's how people work. And a lot of this, like I said, all started in 2008 with Obama, because he got a speechwriter who was an expert in hypnosis language, and 56% of what he said in all of his speeches, Obama, he had people crying, despite, he wasn't even overly thoughtful with his wording. He just knew how to get to emotion, and that is what they've done. And it's, again, that started in 2008 with him, and that's 56% of everything that Obama said made him all hypnotic. It was all getting into your subconscious mind, and that's how he won on an election. 2012 elections, really, really great again, and it got more and more and more. To this election, it was drenched. It was absolutely drenched with hypnotic language. It was drenched with persuasion, and you can see it was all emotion. Donald Trump knew how to rally people up. He just knew how to do it, and he got people, and he got people, and he got people, and he caught people on emotion the whole way through it. People wanted something else, and Obama started with, I want to change, things are going to change, and he was very, very emotional for change, but he was very vague in change. He was like, things need to change, and it was how the brain works is your conscious mind is like a guard, and the more details that you give it, the more it the more it has to reject. And that's how the conscious mind works. Whereas the subconscious mind is the decision maker, and that's all goes off emotion. So if you give the conscious mind more chance to reject things, the decisions won't be made properly in the subconscious mind. So the vaguer that the arguments were made, the better it was to get into the subconscious mind, which is why Obama did so great. And again, that is exactly why Donald Trump did so great. He just started going around saying he was going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it. I mean, how that could have happened, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm not an economist there, nor am I a politician, but how that happened was, you know, it was so vague. It's very much like, oh, okay, you're going to build a wall and have that happen. You're going to build a wall and Mexico going to pay for it. He didn't go into detail and go, and it's going to come from the taxes, or it's going to come from things that are cut by this, and it's going to come from that. He just did it. He just said it, and people fall into that trap. People wanted emotion, and he hyped people up, and he hyped people up, and he hyped people up, and that's how he's done it, and that's how he's done so well in terms of mastering and getting people into persuading. So that was fantastic. That was something that he did throughout the whole time. And he did really well at that. I've got so many notes, I'm going off on tangents. Another thing that he did, which was really amazing, Donald Trump did a really great thing there. He started saying that for him, the most important problem that we have in the world, the first thing that needs to be tackled was nuclear weapons. And Hillary said it was global warming. So when you've got Tony Robbins, when you've got Donald Trump saying that nukes were the most problematic thing in the world, it appears that he is more peaceful. He's saying, we don't want this. We don't want war. We don't want peace. We don't want war. We don't want this. We don't want that. And that's how he's coming across, by saying that nukes were the most important problem that we needed to tackle. So that was really great. And the whole campaign as well, I'm going through this really fast, and in as little detail. I mean, I'm going into some detail, but I'm kind of skimming through the lot of it because I'm on Facebook Live, and like I said, a lot of this stuff I've done through trainings. I've got copies of it on webinars as well. So if you do want the full sort of analysis on it, then drop me a line and I can send that over to you. But another really quick thing that he did as well, was he got validation from leaders throughout the whole campaign. Netanyahu, which was the president of Israel, he was very close with him throughout the whole thing, and he even said he could work with Donald Trump. And the same with Mexico. He went to Mexico and discussed a wall. I mean, he wasn't even president, but this is a key thing that he did. He acted like he was president throughout the whole campaign. When there was floods in Louisiana, he was there. When, he just so incredibly, very well thought out the whole campaign, the way he did it. And it was very good for him to do that, because it's made people believe that he was a president. And throughout the whole thing, that's what he did. He was president. It was President Trump, President Trump, President Trump. And people believed it. He acted like it, and he felt it. And there's a saying that says, just act like it, and it's going to happen, and it will. And that's just a fact. It does. And there's a really famous story in personal development where there was this lady who had a date for an event that she had, and she had it written down on a napkin, and she rang people round and she said, look, I've got this really amazing event that's happening. It's going to be completely really high end. It's going to be full of incredible people there. It's going to be completely star-studded. It's going to have the most beautiful venue. She told everybody that this is what it was, and it happened. But actually, all it was an event that she'd written and she planned it, but she believed that it had already happened into her whole core. And therefore, that meant that people believed in her, and that's the same thing that Donald Trump used. He believed it in his very core. He acted like it. He was acting like a president throughout the whole campaign, and he made it happen just by that. He's so incredibly, his team, I'd say as well, were very clever about how they did that, because the campaign, it was sort of like you were caught between a rock and a hard place. It was quite hard to sort of tackle. And that really worked. That really helped throughout the whole thing. Another thing that was touched on as well was Hillary's health. So the whole thing about Hillary's health, there was a big deal about that. Hillary Clinton was ill, and Donald Trump made out that she wasn't a fit enough, fit enough to be president. She couldn't do it. And again, people want a strong, healthy leader. So she had to fight and prove to people that she was healthy, which made her more tired. And it wasn't as good if she wasn't very well. So again, she was put as underdog through that whole situation. And every time she started to rise, she was placed as an underdog again, and she was placed as an underdog. And that's just what happened with Hillary throughout the whole of that campaign. And it was just because, even though Donald Trump wasn't personally attacking her, she maybe bits, but he wasn't doing it so well. He was just very, very clever and used a lot of language that would get people going. And people believe it. People want to be led, and you can't be led by somebody that was poorly and couldn't be a president. So that was another thing that she'd done. As well, Hillary wasn't very popular with her smile. She always seemed to have this thing. People didn't really like the fact that she didn't take some of the things seriously. It didn't appear like she did. It appeared that she sort of would laugh and kind of go, oh, this is like silly stuff, we don't need to worry about that. Throughout the whole campaign, she didn't do too well, especially in the debates. She didn't have much of a great following for the sort of lack of empathy attitude, and people really want empathy, especially when they're unsettled. And when you've got a debate like that, things are really unsettled. So that was kind of her sort of stance and how she looked on it. And that kind of put her as an underdog in the whole sort of campaign, just by having that demeanour. She didn't have a presidential look. She didn't have a presidential demeanour about how she was. So she used a lot of hypnotic language, but it was mainly Trump. He really, really rallied people up. He really did it, and he was so good at doing that, and it happened. Let's just have a look if there's anything else. I've spoken about, I've got so many notes. Yeah, I told you about the chunking up, about how he chunked up all the language, so he made it all really, really vague, and that's what, like I said, we call that chunking up. It was making it as really, really vague so the conscious mind can cancel it, can't reject it, and it would be easy to make a decision in the subconscious mind based on emotion. And he used that. He wasn't, like I said, he was very vague throughout the whole of the campaign. And then finally, the whole thing, what they did was they made it out that if the other one won, it would be the end of the world. That was the sort of the race that they gave it. Like, if Donald Trump wins, then this is going to happen, and if Hillary wins, this is going to happen. And like, there was big uprises with Russia, and actually Putin said that he could work with Donald Trump. He had categorically did not really like Hillary, because Hillary kept attack. She wanted to fight with Russia. So that was sort of again, people did not want to have that. That stems right back to the 60s with McCarthyism and people being a bit scared of Russia. So people don't really, in the States, still have a little bit of about that, and that really did make a huge difference in the campaign. Just didn't really want to pick a fight with them. But throughout the really, really key thing with Donald Trump was definitely his subliminal messages. He got people in their subconscious mind. He got people where they wanted them through the whole campaign. He was a master of persuasion. He managed to absolutely nail people down with his persuasion, with his language, and it was all hypnotic throughout the whole thing. People fell in love with him. People fell in love with his ideas. He had no idea. He had no idea how he was going to build these walls. He had no idea how he was going to implement half of these policies. He made it so vague, but people loved it. People just liked that, and they had no chance to reject it because it was vague. So that was one of the biggest things. And yeah, that was kind of, I mean, like I said, this has kind of been done really, really quickly in a really, really short. I've tried to condense it as much as possible. 20 minutes. I've tried to condense it as much as possible for you. Like I said, this is like a 90-minute training that I did. So it was all about this persuasion, how to actually use this language. And it's really, really clever. It's really, really fascinating. If you love NLP, if you love mindset, and if you love trying to get into the subconscious mind, this is really, really a great way to learn about it. And look at the way they are. Like, a lot of presidents, a lot of politicians are now learning to use these techniques because they work. You can have a complete idiot run for an election and win. if you think Donald Trump's an idiot, that's, you know, personal thing. But it's a fact and it works. And these things are really, really powerful if you're going to go into sales, if you're going to go into marketing, if you're in business. You need to know how to use these things because they make a difference. I mean, I'm not saying be as abstract and bizarre and radical as you can be, but the sort of psychology behind it and the way that he's done these things, forget about what he said, but the way he's done it has just been phenomenal. And he's been really good. It's been really, really great for him to have done those things, and he's managed to become a president of the US just by using these techniques. And yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to talk about, because I'll be here all day and I can go on and on and on and on about Donald Trump and the things that he's used, because you know, 2 years worth of campaigning that you can analyse and you can go through. Like I said, this is not a political analysis about the politics behind who won who and why that happened, because that was not something that I was trying to look into. It was more, like I said, the psychology behind how he won, and that is 100% what I believe. Like I said, the certainty, he was so certain about some of the most radical things, and because people need certainty in such an uncertain time, people followed that. And that's the second thing, people need something to follow. He was a leader throughout the whole of that campaign. He acted like a president throughout that whole campaign, and he believed he was a president throughout the campaign. So that was a big thing. And the third thing was the hypnotic language and the chunking up being really, really vague. Those three things really made a huge difference in how and why Donald Trump won that election. Like I said, despite whether you like him, despite whether you're happy with the outcome or not, just try to learn from it, and don't sort of rise into the political side of it, because, you know, just it's not worth it. It's just not. So just absolutely just try and take something from it and grow from it. And that's all I try to do. I've not had much an opinion on it, and I don't really talk politics anymore. I used to talk politics until I was blue in the face, and now I'm just more interested in the psychology behind it. But that's definitely something that you could work on. Like I said, business, sales, marketing, all sorts of different things. Absolutely incredible thing to learn and take from it. So just go and try these techniques. I also have like documents, and I also have the 90-minute training that I did, and this is what I did for a sales company. So if this works, if this works for you and you're interested in learning more about subconscious influence and mindset and the sort of techniques that you can use, then don't hesitate to get in touch with me, and I can help you in any way that I can. Anyway, it's Friday. I won't take up any more of your time. Yeah, enjoy your weekend. Take care, and I will speak to you shortly. I'll think of another interesting topic to tell you about next time. But you take care, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye.